Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Strong Female Athlete Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about in season training and basically give you all the answers on how to do it. Because oftentimes, I get a lot of concerns from you sports parents and even team coaches. How do we fit in season strength and speed training? You want to do it, you know it's beneficial for your daughter or your female athletes, but you just don't know how to fit it in. I get a lot of concerns from parents. Is she overdoing it? Is she going to be too sore or not recovered enough? How do we fit it into such a busy practice schedule? Do these workouts have to be long? I'm going to answer all that today. I got you guys. I am going to do a whole presentation on in-season training, and I'm going to let you know exactly my templates for various situations, for travel practice, for when school season starts. I got you today. So hang in tight, grab a notebook. Let's do this. Okay, let's get started. In season speed and strength training, an athlete's competitive edge. Yes, it is going to be an edge nowadays. Why? Because not everyone's doing it. Oftentimes, young female athletes will train hard in the summer off season. Well, if they get an off season, some of them don't even train in the off season, but they will train hard in the off season for maybe 1 or 2 months. And then they don't see their strength and speed coach for another 10 months out of the year. This is a problem. So the athletes who stick with in-season training and they do it year round are going to be the ones surpassing their opponents. Why? Why does everyone need to in-season strength train? Well, to handle the increasing sport load of today's youth sports climate. So this goes for all sports, and especially in soccer, it is year round. Girls are practicing anywhere from 3 to 4 days a week now and consistently have 1 to 2 games every single weekend. So we have to make them resilient to these loads. And when they're running and cutting and jumping and covering hundreds of miles over the length of the season, how are their muscles and tendons and ligaments holding up? Are they durable? And I get asked a lot about ACL injuries in female athletes, and this is part of the problem is youth soccer has become so much more demanding than in the past, and girls are asked to keep up with a schedule that they're not prepared for. So we have to prepare them for these demands. We have to increase their capacity to handle them, their strength, namely their total body strength. And we want to make sure that they can decelerate and do high speed running and sustain high speeds at the end of every game they play and not get fatigued and not wither away. We want to in-season strength train because we don't want their muscles to atrophy. So those girls I talk about who do a 2-month off-season program in the summer, it's great they did it. It's great they learned what it takes to do a full speed strength and conditioning template. It's great they learned how to do this type of training. So it gets them in the door to understand what it takes. But if they stop that training and then they don't see their speed and strength coach for the rest of the 10 months of the year, their muscles will atrophy. They will become weaker. Muscles need to be stimulated. They need to be maintained. And girls need to continue to get stronger. And here's a fun fact. Muscles atrophy within 4 weeks of stopping a strength training program. That's fast. And then speed, it's even worse. Speed, once you stop speed training, it goes away in 2 weeks' time because speed is a highly neural activity. It demands us to use fast twitch muscle fibers and our central nervous system. And if we don't give our body those inputs every single week, speed will also wither away. So if girls continue to work on these when other girls aren't, because I can tell you not everyone is doing year-round strength and speed training, but I can also tell you the ones that stick with it, they get a competitive edge. Not only are they faster than everyone else towards the end of the season because they got those continuous speed inputs, they're also healthier. They're not as sore. They're not suffering soft tissue injuries. They're not getting catastrophic meniscus or ACL tears by the end of the season because they're still durable to keep up with those demands. So I can't repeat enough how important it is to continue to in-season strength train. And please stick around, guys, because I will give some sample templates so you can understand how to incorporate this in. And I'll give some sample schedules, some sample movements as well, because I really want you to understand that it is possible to fit it in. And it's very easy. It's very simple. Here are some in-season non-negotiables to make you feel a little bit better that it's not as scary and she won't be overdoing it. So if you're working with a true strength and conditioning professional who is certified and who understands in-season versus off-season programming, you are in great hands because they understand that, number one, in-season workouts should be short and high quality. So short as in we can accomplish what we need to accomplish in a strength or in-season speed session in just 30 to 45 minutes of actual work and doing the exercises. And of course, within that, we might have a warm up and some rest times in between, but it can be really short if you're crunched for time. And then also high quality. We're focusing on proper technique of these lifts. We're not trying to max out or do a CrossFit style high volume workout and have sloppy form. We want to have high quality technique like a squat here, butt to heels, full depth, full range of motion, really focusing on what muscles am I working. And we're keeping this really low rep, which also helps the workouts to be shorter. So speaking of low rep, then the second one is in-season workouts should never leave an athlete fatigued. So we're doing reps anywhere from 6 reps or lower, 2 to 3 sets for our main lifts, which means that athletes shouldn't get sore from that. Usually when we go on the higher rep ranges, like the bodybuilder type style workouts over like 10 to 15 reps, that's when athletes get sore. So don't do that during the season with these bigger lifts, because these bigger lifts like your squat, your hex bar deadlifts, any like big lunge or split squatting or single squat movements, you want the sets and reps to be low, focus on quality form, and moderate to heavy weight. When you do that, then it's not as taxing for the body and especially the central nervous system. We do not want our girls to be fatigued like you parents are concerned with. We don't want them to be overdoing it. So those sets and reps must stay low in season. That's the big difference between in-season and off-season programming. What's the frequency of in-season workouts? So the third one here should be 1 to 2 times a week consistently. So if you have a daughter or your team practices 4 times a week, maybe start with 1 time a week in season strength training. See how it goes. Let your body adapt. Nail down your routine. Get your schedule organized. And then once you can handle the 1 time a week, I would strongly recommend adding that second day. And again, these 2 days of in-season strength training should be short, high quality reps, low volume, so we're not sore. So 2 times a week is totally okay. But you have to keep in mind, you want to still make sure when your daughter adds in-season strength training that she's still at least getting definitely 1 full off day a week from any organized trainings or games. So whether it's strength training, skills training, or competitions, she needs to have 1 day fully off. And usually for most girls, that is a Friday. I don't train my athletes on Fridays, so that's always a good day to take off. And then some girls will have off on maybe a Saturday or a Sunday if it's a 1-game weekend. So then you get that second day off, which is amazing. And I'll go over when to put in these in-season workouts within your schedule. They can be done on practice days. Newsflash, it is totally okay to do them on practice days because, again, the workouts are designed with the proper dosing, the proper sets and reps, so girls are not fatigued. That's why I can't repeat enough that you have to be working with the certified strength and conditioning professional in your area who understands this or remotely. Okay, and the next one, in-season non-negotiables. We must do both strength and speed training in season. So like I said, we're doing the strength training for the injury resiliency side of things, but also the speed side of things because we need our hamstrings and glutes to be strong for sprinting. But we also need that true speed training where girls are doing explosive, high quality plyometrics, maybe sprints, mechanics drills, and then running max effort time sprints. So they need that sprint exposure as well, especially over 30 yards distance. So they are reaching top speeds and improving the ceiling of their top end speed. And then this last one is really important. And I've started implementing this in the past few years because it was becoming a big problem. But in season strength and speed training should also include a little bit more extra conditioning for bench players. So for bench players, a lot of them are not getting enough minutes compared to the starters. So what's happening there is bench players are getting severely deconditioned, which still doesn't give them a good chance to break into the starting lineup. So I think if you have a bench player, encourage her to talk to her strength and conditioning coach, say, hey, I need more conditioning to match the demands that the starters are getting. Doing more speed endurance runs, adding some repeat sprint work and some extra work so that they can stay in shape in case they are called on to go in, or if they just want to break into the starting lineup and continue to get better. So I think in-season training is also a great opportunity for the bench players to break through, to get more condition, to get faster, to get stronger, and to prove themselves. So this has been a really big one recently for us. And I've been using this a lot as well during the school season, because during the school season, some of these girls are playing on a really easy middle and high school teams. The competition's so easy. And when we've looked at their training load, it's not a lot. And sometimes we do conditioning during the school season because it's just too easy for them. And I want to make sure they're conditioned when they go back to that club transition, because oftentimes in the past, girls have gone into club sports out of shape from their school season. So I've been doing that as well, is conditioning girls during the school season who just aren't getting that high speed, that fitness component from the practices and games. I've heard a lot of these school practices, there's a ton of standing around, and that's the worst thing we can do for our girls who are eventually going to transition back into that demanding club season. And that's also when injuries occur too. When load spikes all of a sudden that you're not prepared for, the running load, the high speeds, the change of direction start to increase, that's when injuries occur. So we can't ignore that load management piece. Okay, so I'm going to go over some sample templates. So the first one I'm going to go over is a sample in-season club template, okay? And then the second one will be in-season school. So if you play for your middle school or your high school team, how to work around those practices and games. And then the third thing I'm going to go over is remote options and why they could be valuable during the season for a lot of people. Okay, so here's an in-season club sample, and I would say a lot of people have this similar schedule. 3 to 4 times a week practice, Monday through Thursday usually. A lot of club teams I know, they do not practice on Fridays, which is good because there's games on the weekends. So most games are usually twice during the weekends, on a Saturday and Sunday. So how do we write our in-season workouts around this? This is really easy. I love putting these together. So Monday will be our lower body strength focus day, because you want the lower body strength to be furthest away from the upcoming game. Okay, so you want it more at the beginning of the week so that the legs are fresh for that upcoming game. It's okay to do a Monday lower body strength the day after a Sunday game, because it can be more active recovery, moving your body, doing a perfect squat or a deadlift for low rep. Again, it has to be low rep. Otherwise, if they're sore from their Sunday game and we're doing like 15 reps on a squat, that's going to make them more sore. So that Monday workout with the lower body focus still has to be low rep. We're not maxing out. We're not doing crazy weights. We're doing maybe a moderate weight and then slowly increasing over the weeks, with the reps continuing to go down so that they can progress in weight and strength. Tuesday is a great day to do speed. I always recommend doing speed before practice, because to get the most out of a speed session, you have to be your most fresh. You can't be doing it after a long club practice where you're tired and then you go to your speed workout and you're not as explosive. So to really get the most out of the plyometric drills, over 30-yard sprint drills, and get your best times on them, you have to be fresh. So if you're going to do Tuesday speed, show up to the field early and do it before your practice. A speed workout, the ones I write, usually take 10 to 12 minutes. Yes, it's that short. It's that easy. Okay, and then Wednesday, we can do a combo. So this would be the second strength day if people can make time for it. The second strength day is half lower body, half upper body. So I might be adding some band assisted pull ups or some sort of row or a perfect push up, and then a different main lower body lift. And then we just call it a day. So usually these in season strength workouts are 4 main lifts, and that's it. We just keep it super simple. Okay, Thursday, since we're getting close to games on the weekends, Thursday is going to be more of an explosiveness primer workout. So this can be more acceleration based, maybe getting another top speed sprint and just doing just one of them that day. And again, keeping this workout super short. 10 to 12 minutes. Thursday is a great day for explosive and game primer workouts. And then we're off Fridays, you guys. Okay, please don't schedule an intense skills session on a Friday if your daughter has a Saturday, Sunday game. She needs to have at least one off day a week from all trainings at a minimum, ideally 2 if you can some weeks, but make sure you get that one off day in. And keep in mind, you can do strength and speed on practice days. Speed just has to be done before practice, and then strength, it can either be done before or after. It doesn't matter. Okay, now school season. The schedule's a little bit different with school season since they are practicing after school every single day. And then usually games are twice a week, but I've seen in some school seasons 3 times a week creep in, which I'm not a big fan of, but it is what it is. So usually those games can be Tuesdays, Thursdays, or Fridays for people. So here's how we're going to structure this. With the school season, Mondays, beginning of the week when we are the most fresh, because usually during the school season, there are not club games on the weekends anymore. So if you are fresh on Mondays, beginning of the week, before all the games start, do speed. Do speed before your practice if you can. Just again, get to the field 10 minutes early and get those quick plyos in, those 1 to 2 top speed sprints in, and call it a day. You need to keep giving yourself that sprint exposure and that fast twitch input. Okay, now Tuesday, there's a game, so we're not going to do anything. Wednesday, we're also not going to do anything because we never want to lift in between a game, okay? So since there's a game on a Tuesday and Thursday, Wednesday's the day in between, we don't want to lift in between, okay? We want to be ready for Thursday's game. So don't do anything on Wednesday. And then you can do a total body strength workout either right after the game Thursday if there's no game Friday, and it can be used as active recovery, or you can save it until Friday. Not a big deal. Saturday, take off. Again, there's that one off day a week. I'm not a huge fan of you guys scheduling extra skill sessions and trainings during such a crazy school season. Unless your school season is so easy and you're doing nothing at practice and everyone's just standing there, fine. But you still want to pencil in that one full off day a week no matter what. Not just for the physical recovery, but just for the mental piece as well, and making sure you're just taking a break from any obligations. Now, Sunday, I say this as optional, this second day strength. You should try to get it in, but Sunday you could do a short total body strength day where you divide lower and then upper. Okay, so that's up to you guys if you want to fit that in. That's how I would do the school season. And I will also say that for those of you who have young female athletes who want to play college sports, this template is very similar to what they do in the college space. So your daughter or your female athlete team can expect their college strength coach is going to do a similar template with them. They do speed training in season. They do 1 to 2 times a week strength in season, and they lift sometimes right after a game. I had the Stanford women's soccer coach on my podcast a few weeks ago, and she said that after a Friday night game, they go right to the gym and lift because she wants to make sure that Saturday is a full recovery day because then they play again on Sunday. So they get that lift in quick to optimize that recovery window. So they do it right after the game. which I think is an amazing idea. So your female athletes need to start getting into these habits because this is what is going to be physically required of her in season when she's at that college level. So you also want to get into good habits. For the remote options, who is it for? Now, I want to preface this with saying remote training, it's not for everyone. Some athletes need in person. They need to be in a group. They need to be competing or just with a coach. And that's totally fine. You just have to understand what motivates your daughter to stick with the program. Compliance is number one. If you think she's not going to be consistent with a remote program, then don't do it. But on the other end, if your daughter loves working out and she likes doing it on her own, then she's a great candidate for remote training. I've also seen this. So, who remote training is for? So, athletes who are too busy to commute to a performance facility in person. So, I've had people who say they already commute like 1 to 2 hours to their club practice and they just don't want to add that extra commute to the strength coach, which I totally understand. It's a lot of time in the car. It's mentally exhausting. So I've seen people like that who are like, we'd rather just have her be able to do workouts from the comfort of her own home, no commutes, no more time in the car. So that's also who remote could be for. Also, it's for athletes who don't have a quality performance coach in their area. So if you're not living in a big city and you're in the middle of nowhere or in a more rural area, then remote can be a great option for you because you have more access to quality coaches online. And I have a couple clients now in Tennessee, Mississippi. I had one in Oklahoma before, and they just had no performance facilities in their area. So that remote training is a great option for those athletes as well because they don't have those resources within their area. Remote training is also great for injured athletes. Okay, so injured athletes who have minor injuries right now who can't really do too much with the team and they just need more of a customized program of working around that injury. And let me tell you, you can train around an injury. So if you have an ankle sprain, for example, you got another leg and you got arms and you have a core. So there's a lot you can do. You can do pull-ups, you can do one leg push-ups, you can do rows, you can do bench press, you can do single leg stuff on the healthy leg. I mean, there's so much you can do. So it could also be for injured athletes. And then again, it could be for non-starters. So girls who don't get a lot of playing time, who do need that extra programming, that extra conditioning, speed, and strength to really help them break through. And I can't reinforce this one enough to you guys. You have to already love working out and your girl has to be autonomous because remote training is lonely. You're doing it on your own. And I'm not there like breathing down your neck telling you, you need to do your workouts. I'm not that type of remote coach. I'm someone who lets the athlete take the lead. As you can see on the side of the screen here, I write out the program step by step, the exact sets and reps, the exact rest time, the exact order you do the exercises in. So that's my role, is customizing it. So your job as the athlete is to get the workouts done. I don't nag my remote athletes. I just have the high expectation that your workouts are your responsibility. Otherwise, remote training is not for you. You have to already have that habit of working out on your own to really get the most out of a remote program because it can be very lonely when you're doing these workouts on your own. Okay, another thing I'll say is that a lot of speed improvements can happen in season as well. And I have seen some amazing results happen with girls who, for example, started with a fly 10 in the 1.2s and now they're in the 1.1s or the 1.08s and they're improving their times over the season while everyone else is slowing down because they're not training speed. And it's crazy. Speed doesn't take that long to train. You just have to commit to it and be consistent. And the athletes who get that stimulus in season are the ones, again, who get that competitive edge. Okay, so if you guys got a lot out of this and you want more information, I do have a sample speed and strength program that you can purchase. It's just a starter program for 2 months where you get to have 2 days speed and a day of strength into your schedule. It's a template where you can just get started on, get into good habits, and then just use the link in the caption below to purchase. I use the Team Builder platform, and you get to see the videos of all the exercises, the sets and reps. You get to track your speed times in the app so you can see your improvements over time. You can write in your weights as well, so you can really track how much load you're lifting. So I definitely recommend you check it out. And then when you finish, feel free to just continue to recycle the program and use the monthly subscription for that. But eventually, I do recommend you do have to progress at some point. So you do have to do more advanced exercises, heavier lifts, different, more challenging lifts. So if you want to sign up for my customized remote program, I recommend booking a consult in the caption below. And just to give you guys a preview of what the custom program really looks like through my lens and the athlete's lens, I have athletes upload videos where I give them specific technique feedback on the lifts, on the speed drills, on the plyometric drills, and making sure each week they're doing these with great form and great technique. Because again, in season workouts, it's all about technique and quality workouts. We're very intentional with how we're doing these lifts and these speed drills. So you can see on the back end of the app, athletes can upload their videos, and then you'll see my comments here. I'm giving a girl feedback on her 10-meter fly sprint and how her acceleration and first few steps are looking. I also requested a girl on one of these single leg squatting movements to take a front view next time so I can actually see the alignment of her knee. So I'm really specific with the feedback in this program. So again, if you have an athlete who does want to do remote, their responsibility is to also upload videos. Otherwise, the coach can't give the feedback. So to also really get the most out of a remote program, you have to upload videos. Otherwise, you can't be coached. You want to be coached, right? Okay, and then another feature of the custom Edge program for remote is messenger access. So each week I'm having conversations with athletes about all sorts of things. Schedule changes. Hey, can you add an extra lift on this day? My schedule just changed. Hey, here's my high school schedule so you can write workouts around my games. I will also send nutrition tips to my remote athletes, recovery tips. So we're talking about all types of things in the messenger so that they are really improving their performance and getting a customized experience. Okay, and then another feature is you get Zoom access from the custom program, which means twice a month check-ins on Zoom where we go over feedback, load management, recovery, schedule changes, or any questions the athlete may have. I mean, sometimes on these Zoom check-ins, we're talking about college recruiting and just advice for ID camp. So it's really anything you want to use the check-in for, which is really cool. Okay, and this last piece I just added to my custom remote program. It's the load management piece where girls will rate the intensity of their practices and games and also their minutes trained and played. Okay, so the app calculates an entire load score based on all of that, and it lets me know, okay, is this athlete overtraining and overdoing it? And how can we pull back a little bit? And it gives me an idea of, okay, how can I adjust my workouts on my end so that we're not overdoing? Okay. But then on the opposite end, and we've had this issue again in the high school and middle school season, is girls detraining too much. So this load score will go way down, which is not good. That means we are under preparing and practices are too easy. There's too much standing around. And then all of a sudden they play a game and it's super intense. Again, when load is low and then spikes too high all of a sudden, it's too much too soon, that's when injuries happen. So I also want to look at the detraining side of it too. And that comes back to just making sure, okay, can I add extra conditioning for this athlete because their load score is too low and we want to make sure they're prepared for games better? Or is this athlete who's in school season not training hard enough at their practices, but I want to add more conditioning to make sure they're ready for club season? So this load management tool has been incredible for not just my remote athletes, but also my Tampa athletes. Last week in Tampa here, we had girls where school season and club was in that weird overlap phase. I have a panic attack every time, but having this app allowed the girls to actually see it and understand, oh, wow, my load spiked way too high this week. So how can I control maybe my intensity or maybe cut back on an extra skill session this week so I'm not in a high injury risk zone? So if anything, it's also been a great conversation starter with my female athletes to understand what load is and if they're overdoing it and we need to pull back, or if they're under training and we need to give them a little bit more to be ready for intense games and their club season and that transition. Okay, and my final reminder, in-season speed and strength training is an athlete's competitive edge. Again, guys, not everyone's doing it. I would say the majority of young athletes aren't speed and strength training year round. They stop during the school season because they think it's too much. But after listening to this presentation, it's not. There are ways around it with shorter quality workouts, smart periodization, smart load management. So you guys got this. You can do it because it will be a competitive edge. And if your female athlete wants to play in college, she will be in season strength and speed training no matter what with her strength and conditioning coach. So she has to be ready for it. And we have to keep her healthy. And we need to have her keep getting fast and leveling up. So, are you going to have a competitive edge or are you not? So again, if you want to get a starter program, it's just the program, not the custom coaching I just went over. But if you want just the program, I'll link it in the caption below. That's the starter program to just try on your own for a few months. And then again, if you want that more custom experience with the technique feedback, the back and forth messenger, the load management piece as well, feel free to book a consultation in the caption below. If you are a remote candidate, again, you have to have an athlete who is autonomous and will do these workouts on her own and take ownership of them. If not, I do recommend you find someone in person in your area so you can continue to in-season strength and speed train and you don't wither away. So find someone in your area tomorrow, please, and keep getting better. Thank you guys and see you next time.